was big news this week when Abdu Rozik and Hasbulla finally sat down with fighter promoter influencer Tamaev Asxab. The trio covered a lot of ground and things got quite spicy with many insults and accusations being thrown around. And by the end of the interview, as I'm sure you've seen, things had devolved into fisticuffs, giving us a taste of what a fight between these two lads from Central Asia could offer in the octagon. For those of you new to the Hasbulla and Abdu Rozik rivalry, welcome. I recommend though that you check out my short explainer here. It will give you a lot of context and some of the background about these two young men. Yes, that's right, they are in fact young men, not children. Before we jump into the interview, just a fair warning, while I actually asked someone who can speak Russian for help this time, I didn't have a lot of time to chat with them, so I had to rely on YouTube and Google Translate a bit. But yeah, while my translation and interpretation shouldn't be taken as gospel, again, I'm still pretty confident you'll get the gist of it. I think it's fairly accurate. Okay, enough intro, let's jump into the interview. Oh shit, wait. Before we begin, here's another fun fact. Again, this rabbit hole is the gift that keeps on giving. The interviewer, Tamaev, first burst onto the scene when he was 16. He's 19 now. Back then, he was known as the Chechen Hulk. I'm sure this picture explains why. His major claim to fame for a time was the size and strength of his neck, which pretty impressive. And he used to pull cars, was his thing. He used to pull cars with his head. Happily, those days seem to be behind him now. He still gets in the octagon and gets in the ring every now and then, but he's leveraged his Hulk status into what looks like a very respectable social media empire. Anyway, to the interview. It's just a basic introduction. Tamaev starts with asking the guys about their origins and stats. Abdu Rozik says he's like 17 years old from Tajikistan, weighs in at 17 kilograms. He's about 1 meter tall. Hasbulla is like, I'm from Kazakhstan, I'm about the same height, 19, weigh in at 18 kilograms. And then Tamaev makes a point of saying the 1 kilogram difference might not sound like a lot, but for these guys it's like 5% of their body weight, so it might be important. Tamaev goes on to ask how the rivalry started. Hasbulla is like, I want Abdu Rozik to explain. Abdu Rozik is like, Hasbulla put out a call for someone weighing 18 kilograms to fight him. And I saw this and I couldn't resist the opportunity to pummel his face. Off to a running start in terms of the fighting words. Hasbulla is like, I'm just ready to fight. I'm ready to fight anyone. Could be this kid. Doesn't matter. Now Tamaev asks what advantages Hasbulla thinks he has. Hasbulla, being a bit cheeky, is like, it's a secret. Turning to Abdu Rozik is like, doesn't matter what advantages he has. He's fat. I can knock him down with one blow. And when he gets hysterical from this, you, as in Tamaev, you'll have to calm him down. You'll have to hold him back. Hasbulla then goes on to reference his training, so it's not a secret. This is with some of Dagestan's professional MMA fighters, like Khabib. Basically, he's flexing that he has better training, he's dropping some names, to which Abdu Rozik is like, if you think you're so special, if you train with Khabib, why do you act like Conor McGregor? Hasbulla shakes us off, gives his little titter. And Tamaev asks, why do you think so many people are interested in you and this fight? Hasbulla jumps in, he's like, because we are rare, we're tiny people are interested. And then Abdu Rozik, I don't know if you guys know this, but he's speaking Tajiki. So he's on the phone with a guy who's translating, so all of these things are delayed. Abdu Rozik's jumping in here after hearing this, and he's like, that's right, lots of people are interested, but no one likes Hasbulla because he keeps running his mouth and acting the fool and pretending to be cool. So now we get into some weeds here. A couple of weeks back, Abdu Rozik actually came to Dagestan, was outside Hasbulla's house, Tamaev there, and they knocked on the door and Hasbulla didn't come out. Apparently, according to this interview and things that I've seen, Hasbulla was like, bring the kid, I'll be at home, you bring him to my house and I'll punch him in the face. So Tamaev did this, and then when they got there, nobody answered the door. And basically, Tamaev is like, you lied to me. I'm like, it's bad for you to lie. You're not being a good host, although hosting someone and punching them in the face seems to be mutually exclusive. Different cultures though. And Abdu Rozik jumps in and is like, you liar, you were home. Hasbulla is like, I wasn't home, but if I'd known you guys were there, I would have been there in 5 seconds to punch him. And then Hasbulla is like, it doesn't matter if I was there or wasn't, I'm here now, let's go, basically. Things just escalate. There's a lot of obviously backwards and forwards here, but Abdu Rozik seems to be giving Hasbulla a lot of shit for being a Muslim but acting so rowdy on Instagram. A lot of things about swearing. Again, translation failing me here. I know that he will go on to say something like you're fake, and you talk to me to boost yourself on Instagram. Apparently, Hasbulla's gained a lot of followers in Tajikistan. Abdu Rozik's like, you would have no followers in Tajikistan if it wasn't for me. And Hasbulla's like, well, the same's true for me here in Russia. And then Abdu Rozik's like, if I had been in Russia with its much bigger population than Tajikistan, and I spoke Russian like you, I would already have had millions of followers. You're doing a terrible job. You suck at Instagram. This wrangling over followers and social media clout goes on for like 5 minutes. Tamaev like shuts it down eventually and says, or he's asking, is this all fake? Is this just for followers and money? I think Hasbulla says, no, it's not, but it's helping. And then Abdu Rozik, again, Abdu Rozik says something like, this guy's playing with my emotions for cash and hype, and the way he acts is untruthful, and he's a bad person, he's a bad Muslim. Hasbulla is like, I help people on my social media account because he often posts pictures of children with like just horrifying, serious medical conditions. In amongst this backwards and forwards, the revelation, to me at least, that they received like 1 million rubles not to fight, 1 million rubles each. And according to Abdu Rozik, Hasbulla, despite running his mouth all the time about being a big man wanting to fight, was the first to jump on the offer. And the inference here, or the accusation, is that Hasbulla is a coward and he's broke, and that's why he took the money, even though he pretends to have lots of money. And Abdu Rozik is like, return the money and we'll fight. And then Hasbulla retorting to this accusation about being broke is like, I don't need the cash. I'll definitely give the money back. I have enough cash on this credit card to buy you. And he pulls out a credit card. Abdu Rozik to this is like, you have money, but you don't have respect because they're going back to this, you didn't meet me, and you act like a child and you cry like a baby and mess around all the time. Again, a lot of backwards and forwards. It goes on for a long time. Tamaev then steps in now and is addressing the concerns about Hasbulla being possibly considered a disabled person, and he's asking whether they should be allowed to fight. And Hasbulla is like, I don't consider myself disabled. And he's like, people just want to stop the fight because they're jealous of me. You've got 18-year-olds, people younger than me, playing on their phones, doing nothing with their lives. The same question is put to Abdu Rozik, and he says that he doesn't consider himself disabled. He says, I have legs and arms at work, my brain works, my mind works, I'm responsible, I make my own money every month, I pay my bills. And I think Tamaev is really stressing this. They've obviously gotten a lot of critique. Then we have this rare moment of agreement. I'm not exactly sure what was said, but it's like, do not cripples. Let us do what we want to do. Let us live our lives like adults. Then Tamaev goes on to ask a question about how much money they make. And he says, Hasbulla, whisper in my ear. And Hasbulla first says no, and then he says, I make 37 rubles a month. To which Tamaev is like, oh, so little. And Abdu Rozik doesn't really say how much money he makes. He says he can't speak. He mentions that he pays his taxes. There seems to be, at this point, some sort of issue about Hasbulla being rowdy on Instagram and swearing and doing crazy stuff. It looks like there might have been some sort of lost revenue, lost sponsorship because of this. Tamaev and Abdu Rozik seem unhappy about that. And the insults are coming thick and fast. The main one that Abdu Rozik says is that no one in Dagestan likes Hasbulla because he's too arrogant. He keeps harping on that one. Seems to be agitating Hasbulla. The screaming here, Abdu Rozik is saying, Hasbulla isn't just an arrogant child. I'll teach you respect. Come to Tajikistan. We'll show you what real hospitality is. That kind of thing. And Hasbulla's had enough and he's like, fuck this, it's on. Let's go. And yeah, that's where the interview ends and the fight begins. I'm not going to show the whole thing here. I put a link to the video in the description below. You can watch the whole thing. I will include the time in the link, but just in case it doesn't work, 29 minutes, 29 seconds is when the fight breaks out. Go check it out. It's worth watching in its entirety, but here's my highlights. Definitely. So the highlight for me here is that Tamaev cannot keep from laughing throughout the entire fight. Clearly these guys get really angry and he takes it seriously every now and then, but then he just breaks out laughing. And it just completely undermines the seriousness of the situation. Tamaev takes quite an impressive elbow here. And then just about a minute or two later, he takes this 1-2 combo. Again, quite impressive, unfortunately obscured by Abdu Rozik. Here we have some of Hasbulla's prowess on display with quite an impressive kick. And here we see how sneaky Hasbulla can be, because he kicks this microphone underneath the chair and then tries to go for Abdu Rozik. They need two people to hold them both back. Somebody's being called a dog here. Quite an insult. Then they make this choice. Mid-chaos, they decide that maybe they should square up. That'll calm things down. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. Sure, that was gonna calm things down. And then we have Hasbulla showing off his ballet skills. Pretty impressive. Multi-talented young man. And then right near the end, Abdu Rozik loses his mind entirely. And he basically says something to the effect of, I'm gonna cut you to pieces. If they weren't holding me back, I would cut you to pieces. So angry. But Hasbulla doesn't care, and he's just pushing all the buttons imaginable. Chaos. It's chaos. And then, like, I don't know how Abdu Rozik kept his cool, keeps going to sit back there, very respectful, you know, after tensions rise. And then this is the last thing that happens, and it's just, it's classic, because he completely loses control. And that's where the interview ends. I think you can see where it was going. They probably had to rush Abdu Rozik out of there because he was pretty pissed. And yeah, there is, from what I understand, no mention of when this fight is actually going to happen, but the gist of it seems to be very soon. And it seems like it will happen very soon, given that a lot of interest in this fight and money tends to prevail. And both lads are in the same country. But yeah, could just be more hype, guys. I have no idea. Regardless of if it's just hype, this is amazing marketing for both dudes and Tamaev. Whatever happens, I'm bought in, I'm interested. And that's where I leave you. That's my attempt at a translation and breakdown. Now that you've seen this, do you think they are ever really going to fight? Do you think they should be allowed to fight?
Let them fight.
And who do you think would win? I mean, I'm still tending towards betting on Hasbulla just because of that combat training that he seems to have had. Though I was impressed by the restraint and control that Abdu Rozik showed during this whole thing. And he was landing some body blows in terms of insults and jibes, so pretty sharp fella. And you know how it goes. This is YouTube. If you thought this video had any value, comedic or otherwise, please like and subscribe. And if I got something wrong or you have some extra info, especially in the days ahead, please let us know in the comments below. We are thirsty for more. So thirsty. Thanks guys. Bye bye.